As we reach the final days of 2024, it's a time to reflect. It's an opportunity to look back at some of the best moments in professional wrestling in the year 2024. So in today's video, in today's Friday 5 count, I'll be sharing my 5 personal favorite matches from WWE within the last 12 months. But before we jump into the video, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so to keep up to date with all the pro wrestling content that is published here on YouTube, as well as joining the live streams and the J Area Wrestling Podcast to stay in the know when it comes to professional wrestling. Now, with that being said, with this list, in no particular order, I'm going to go ahead and jump in with one of my favorite matches that happened at WrestleMania 40. It was the Intercontinental Championship. Gunther, who had held the title for 666 days, had faced off against Sami Zayn at WrestleMania 40, like I said, in a match that a lot of people were speculating whether or not it would be the last time we saw Gunther defending that title. As I mentioned, he held the title for 666 days, so a lot of people were pegging Sami Zayn to be one of those guys that would be the one to defeat him. It was along with guys like Jey Uso and Chad Gable, who were among the usual suspects of potential new champions. But this matchup, if it taught me anything, it's that one, Gunther's reign as the Intercontinental Championship was capped off with one of the best matches during that reign, and that also Sami Zayn is a perennial babyface who will come to be cheered for many years to come. I think what this match was able to do was to solidify Gunther as one of the best, if not the best, IC champions in all of WWE history, as well as giving the rub to Sami Zayn, who really took it to the next level in his career, who was already a solid babyface, but became one of the top stars because of the bloodline, and especially because of this IC title reign. It really showcased the capabilities of both individuals and even helped further their program that led to the World Heavyweight Championship title match later in the fall. The finish itself was emotional. It was great to see Sami finally get the upper hand and win singles gold, and to defeat Gunther on this stage of WrestleMania 40, it will forever live in professional wrestling history. We have the men's War Games matchup that had taken place at Survivor Series, the OG Bloodline versus Solo Sikoa's Bloodline, the culmination of this current iteration of the Bloodline Civil War, with big names like Roman Reigns, CM Punk, the Usos, Sami Zayn on one side, and of course Solo Sikoa, the Tongans, Jacob Fatu, and Bronson Reed joining his bloodline for the time being. It was all chaos throughout the match. Plus, you had the drama between Paul Heyman, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns, whether or not they could coexist on the same team, the reuniting of the Usos, Sami Zayn joining the bloodline once again, and really testing the waters to see, could this team coexist? Could they get the job done against a team of the bloodline, the Solo Sikoa bloodline, who seemed to be all on the same page? We saw great moments, great spots, even a match filled with injuries that many of these individuals still have not been seen as of today. But I look at the overall senses of the matchup. It was all chaos, which is what I look for into War Games, but seeing the individual bright spots of guys on the babyface team really did it for me. It reminded me why this Bloodline storyline will go down as one of the greatest stories in professional wrestling history, because there's so many layers on top of layers. This story has been going on for the better part of 4 years, and there's no signs of it slowing down. In fact, coming out of this matchup, we're left with more questions, if anything, regarding CM Punk and the Paul Heyman favor that they have in mind. Where will Roman Reigns go from now? We know he has his matchup against Solo Sikoa on the Netflix debut of Monday Night Raw. But leading into WrestleMania 41, this War Games matchup not only was a great matchup and one of my favorites, but it'll be a pinpoint in the storyline as we lead to Las Vegas. For the next matchup, let's take a step away from the Bloodline, but target someone who's very familiar with the Bloodline itself. Cody Rhodes had won the WWE Championship this year, and one of his first big title defenses was in France for the Backlash event as he defended against AJ Styles. The clash of two former Bullet Club members and the clash of two of the best that WWE really has to offer. These two put on a great matchup, and it was only heightened because of the French audience. This is a culmination of what an event overseas could be. The level of anticipation for the match itself, again, was only improved upon by the participation of the wrestling crowd. AJ Styles, a generational talent, Cody Rhodes, the top babyface of the promotion and arguably the sport itself, put on a great matchup that would only serve as the first of a trilogy between the two. For me, it stands out because it was Cody Rhodes' first title defense, and I'm a big AJ Styles fan. And of course, when you look at the grand scheme of his title reign, it's interesting to see what it was like in the infancy of his title reign as to comparison where it is today. Down to the final two matchups here on today's Friday 5 count, two matchups that really have a special place in my heart. Now, the next matchup though, I think objectively was the best match that WWE had to offer in the year 2024. I'm referring to Bad Blood, the Hell in a Cell match between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. Clearly, by far, the best feud of the year. You pitted one of the most controversial stars in recent memory, CM Punk, against a guy like Drew McIntyre who had a career year. I mean, we're talking an improvement as a personality, on the microphone, in the ring. Everything that had led up to this matchup set in motion for what was supposed to be the best match of the year. It had the level of expectation from the fans. It certainly had a lot of responsibility on the hands of Punk and McIntyre to deliver, but what they delivered was an all-time classic. For me, I think it's the best Hell in a Cell matchup in modern WWE, and I think it deserves a spot to be up there in regards as one of the best Hell in a Cell matches of all time. There was a ton of story, a ton of blood, and a ton of action that followed in Atlanta, Georgia between Punk and McIntyre, and it certainly put a nice bow on what was a year-long feud between the two. Punk demonstrating why he is the best in the world, and McIntyre putting on full display why he was probably the MVP of WWE in 2024. And of course, with that being my personal favorite matchup as an objective standpoint, the next matchup is my personal favorite match just from an emotional standpoint. WrestleMania 40 will go down as one of the biggest events in pro wrestling history for many reasons, but for the point of this list, I have to include WrestleMania 40's main event, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship. Number one, Cody Rhodes finally finishes the story. It was an all-time classic matchup that had plenty of cameos. It was very reminiscent of like a Marvel film, where you had the two do battle, and throughout the course of the matchup, we had cameos from guys like Jimmy and Jey Uso, The Rock and John Cena, Solo Sikoa, and even The Undertaker made an appearance for what was the culmination of WWE's biggest story in regards to WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes finally winning the title, finishing his story, doing what his father could not do. If you have not watched this, and I highly doubt that there's many people who haven't, do yourself a favor, rewatch the matchup, watch it for the first time, watch it with a friend. It's very difficult not to get goosebumps and not feel a type of way when you see Cody Rhodes finally win the championship, holding it up for everyone to see, and especially towards the end when you have the baby faces like then Kevin Owens, John Cena, Randy Orton, LA Knight, and others uplift Cody a la WrestleMania 10, where Bret Hart was lifted up by his peers. It's just a great moment in professional wrestling history, and for me it has to be included on my list, as I hope it is on many of yours. But of course, we're here at the end of the video, and I want to hear from you guys. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below what were some of your favorite matchups this year in 2024, whether it was in the WWE or not, and subscribe to the channel for more fun videos like this, as well as the live streams and the J Area Wrestling Podcast. Of course, my name is Jose Ramos Jr., and with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.